just gaze upon the sun, bid farewell to everyone, kick that bucket out the door. Where I'm going, I won't need it anymore. Gonna lay my burden down, take a bird's eye look around, from the tall pines of Carolina all the way to the wall of China. So I go sailing round the room, through my window across the silver moon. No flesh and bone, no.
Hello, everybody. We'd like to get the program going. Sorry it got started a little late, but we were having some technical issues. I'd like to start off by saying that my name's Diane Hawley, for anybody who doesn't know me. I'm a longtime friend of Brian and Eric, and I'm very emotional about this gathering. So please forgive me if I kind of lose it. In any event, in lieu of flowers, Eric would want everybody to make a donation to the German Shepherd Rescue, and there are envelopes on the table over here for you to make a little donation, or to take an envelope and send in a donation. And also, if you have not signed in the guest registry book, it's over here on this table, and please pick up a program. On behalf of Brian, Jack, Francisco, KT, Daniel, and the entire staff at K9, Von Faulkner Canine Training Facility. When my cousin called me and asked me if I was sitting down, I said, yeah. I'm sitting in rush hour traffic on Highway 101. What's up? I said. She asked me to pull off the road. I said, I can't. She then asked me if I saw the announcement. I said, what announcement? And she proceeded to tell me about Eric's passing. All I could do is just scream on Highway 101. And everything became a blur. You see, we never know where life will take us. We never know. We know that life's just a ride. We'll never know when death will take us on our final ride. The depth of life is not only measured by how much love we appreciate and the importance of family and true friends, but also by how much, in turn, are appreciated by our family and true friends. And again, we find the true meaning of this idea among ourselves and in our feelings for and about Eric as we gather here today. We're here because we cared about Eric. We're here because our connection with Eric was deep, based on love, friendship, trust, and understanding of how it is to have a well-trained, mannered canine, whether it's a pedigree, domestic, import, or just plain mutt. Eric didn't care. He welcomed them all. And that could have only happened with this treasured human enthusiasm, dedication, and spirit of Eric, and the entire staff at the Von Faulkner Canine Training. As we gather in this space where Eric lived, worked, played, and bent down to shake the paw of his newest student, whether it be a human or canine, we feel a very large void. Not so much because Eric's physical presence is now gone, but more because of the way in which he shared himself and his love for the canine. It was something that filled us all with the sense that we and our canine were very special to him, as special as he was to us. And that space can never be filled by another person. Eric had a heart of gold. Looking around here today makes it clear just how much people's lives Eric touched, and that heart of gold, even given a canine to someone who needed the love and companionship of a canine in exchange for a loving home, and not one red cent exchanged. Somewhere in my heart, beneath all this pain, is a smile I still wear at the sound of Eric's name. The day Eric had to leave us, his life on earth was gone. The good Lord had better plans for him. For this I surely knew. How do you talk to an angel? Well, God chose Eric for his angel to watch over us from above, to guide us and advise us and know that we're still loved. But Eric can see clearly now, and the pain is gone.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Eric's now that bright rainbow in the sky. Yes, it's going to be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Eric was truly a true friend, a friend who knew the true meaning of unconditional love. Someone I could confide in. He always had that tender touch, a soft and gentle grin. I want to thank you, Eric, for being my friend, for teaching me so well about my canine, even though the time has come that we must bid you farewell. We have all appreciated your expertise and many visits to this God's country, the phone calls, and the canine stories. It's like adding more pictures to an album of memories we already have. Our greatest regret that we did not have more years with Eric in which to add to that album. I'll cherish all the years of memories and training tips Eric shared. Oh, the memories are too numerous to recite. But I'll hold those memories in my heart each morning, noon, and night. In closing, Eric would not want us to mourn or be sad. Instead, remember all the good times, his laughter, his smile, his advice. Remember him happily, and remember him often. Now that's what Eric would want us to do. So until we meet again, rest in peace, Eric.
We are here today to celebrate the life of Eric Faulkner, Rick Faulkner, and Ricky Ramjet. Eric and I have been family and friends for 41 years. During that time, we have shared the good, the bad, that life has thrown at us. Eric was my best friend. We talked every morning while he worked out, rotated dogs. We shared whatever was going on in our lives. He was a very special person when it came to his friends, family, and anyone else who needed him. Eric and Brian took me to Hawaii with them. We stayed in a penthouse on the beach. It was the most beautiful trip. We had the best time. When it came to charity, he was very generous. His heart, his time, money, and even his puppies. When my motorcycle group got involved with Muscular Dystrophy Association, he donated puppies to be auctioned off to benefit the children. The charity that was closest to his heart was German Shepherd Rescue. He did events at the compound to raise money to help the dogs that lost their homes. Eric was driven in anything he did and was successful in everything he did. Eric had an ability to communicate with dogs without saying a word. It was unbelievable to watch. He was a very spiritual man who traveled the world studying all the different philosophies. It is his sense of humor and his ability to accept others just the way they were that I will remember most. Eric was like a father to my daughter Brittany, and he always said she was the daughter he never had. I know that there is a hole in her heart as there is in mine. He brought great joy in our lives with the puppies he gave us throughout the years. He was our John Wayne, and we will miss him. We love you, Eric, and we will be seeing you in the future.
Matt, I'm just wondering, how many people here have known Eric for more than a year? Okay, how about more than 5? More than 10? 20? 20, do I see 20? 25, okay, great. I'm Brian's older brother. I met Eric in early 1986, and he may have been 42 at the time. We were sitting in our house in Fontana, California, and I could just remember Eric making a statement about, I think when I was in my 20s, I really thought that the world revolved around me, but now that I'm in my 40s, I feel I'm in the prime of my life, and now I'm sure of it. And I'll tell you what, man, when I first met Eric, I just never knew somebody that was so bold, so outspoken, and so in love with himself. But the Eric that I've gotten to know, even beyond that, in the last 10 years, is such a contrast from the Eric that I knew back then. He gone from being this person that was just, I mean, he still loved life, but more in a manner of a more humble humanity, as compared to the Eric of the 1980s. He was a person that had just such a high level of compassion, and I think as we got older, I was always kind of rigid right. He was rigid left, but through time and age and the broadening of horizons, we've come together. There's been times we get involved in political arguments, and we would just have to simply agree to disagree. But that was the beautiful thing about Eric. No matter what, and through all the weddings and funerals, family gatherings, birthdays, whatever the case may be, coming up here, putting my 2 boys into bite suits. My oldest son joined the Army in 2003. When he graduated from high school, he wanted to take a tour and see all his family members before he left. And so we came out here the summer of 2003. They threw him in a bite suit and let dogs chase him all day long. Which, by the way, talking about dogs, it's just amazing the amount of folks here that have brought their animals. And obviously they're not just dogs, they're obviously members of families that are here, and we're here because of Eric. And I sell propane for a living. I work on appliances. And my customers' dogs, they just bark at me, and the customers can't do anything to shut them up. But man, look at you guys. They're quiet, they're at attention, or they're relaxed. Eric's, just an amazing individual, to have done what he has done for so many people. And I'm not just talking about training animals, but touching people. He would have just as much compassion for, a kid hustling for change out in, some resort town in Thailand, or, the poor kid that's got, an addictive behavior holding up a cardboard sign down on the boardwalk. And this was the kind of person Eric was. I think that he would have given anything that he had to anybody if he knew that it was going to touch them in a positive way. My sister Sandy, who couldn't be here today, had sent some magical note across the airwaves to kind of give you an idea. This is not my phone. I am living in the past. But my sister Sandy has known Eric for as long as I have, and she wanted her voice to be heard today. And she wrote this: Dearest Eric, I know we didn't always see eye to eye, but that didn't lessen the warm feeling that I have always had for you. We shared a wonderful love of family, especially for our mom, my mom and Sandy's mom. We all had a wonderful relationship, and he loved my mother dearly. It seems God has chosen to take you into his fold far sooner than we were ready, but that was his decision. Please know how much you will be missed by all of us. Please tell Mom hello, and that she is thought of daily. And we all miss her dearly. It is now time to train the puppies up there to be sweet and loving and welcoming each one of us as we join you. Because of things in life that are beyond our control, Matthew has volunteered to read this note for me, and to him, I thank you. Well, okay, thank you. Sandy, you're welcome. Okay, thanks for being there for me. Please know that you have my deepest gratitude for being my, oh, I'm sorry, that's a note to me. But nonetheless, you know, my sister Sandy, she couldn't make it. She's has undergone some surgeries. Her husband has currently started new cancer treatments. But about 10 days before Eric passed away, I talked to him on the phone, and I was not made aware of how serious his condition was. Matter of fact, it was a little downplayed, because Brian and I were talking on the phone. He said, well, he just started his first bout of chemo. And I go, well, that's actually good news, because, I mean, at least if they're going to try chemo, there's a chance. You know, it's not like it's at stage 4 cancer or anything like that. And then Brian goes, well, actually, it is stage 4. And I just went, oh, no. I just hope for a miracle. Well, Eric and I talked on the phone, and I don't think he knew how much time he had left. And of course, we always hope for more. So we were planning. You know, and life happens as we plan. We were talking about getting together. He was talking about, we live in Las Vegas now. We've been there for several years, and he's been up to visit us a few times. And he was talking about coming up and staying. And I asked him if he wouldn't mind if I just prayed for him while we were over the phone. And so I did. And I was talking to a young gentleman here today that had mentioned that. I hadn't really thought about it, and he said that deeply touched him. But in respect of people, you know, people are individuals. We all have multiple faiths. But I would like us all, if we don't mind, to just take a moment of silence in respect for Eric, for the one that we are here to celebrate, the one that we're going to miss, because we're still here and he ain't. Let's just take a moment of silence, please. Word for Brian, for Jack, for Francisco, who I've known for so long now, and some of the new faces that I don't know very well at all. But I'm just am glad to have been a part of Eric's life for the last 26 years, 27 years. And I just know that this life is very short term in the scheme of eternity, and that we will all have an opportunity to talk more again later. Anyway, you folks have a good day. I don't know.
My name's Libby. This is Juma. And I really haven't known Eric that long. I got Juma in December. Hey, all the way down. All the way down. Sorry. And I'm sure the story I'm going to tell is probably very similar to some of the stories you've already heard about Eric. I didn't know him for a really long time, and that makes sense. When I called Eric, I was in a really bad place in my life. And I didn't know who he was. We had never spoken before. I had come up, I had seen the puppies, but I hadn't met him. And I told him my story on the phone, and I was so nervous, and I was in such a rush, and I was in such a place of desperation and sadness in my personal life. I was having such a difficult time. And about 3 minutes into the conversation, Eric said, you know, slow down, I'm not going to go anywhere. You have time to tell your story to me. And he did. He listened to me talk for probably about 45 minutes. And when I was done, Eric said, "Don't worry, I'm going to help you, and I'm going to get you the right dog, and it's going to change your life." And it really did. It really changed my life, and I really feel, in some ways, that I just want to say thank you to Eric so deeply from my heart for what he gave me and how he taught me to be responsible for it and enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you.
My name is Robin Behill. I came from Utah. I'm Brian's sister. And I think we'll agree that we're here to celebrate the life of a person whose life is worth celebrating. I moved away pretty early, so I was gone a long time, so I mostly knew Eric through telephone calls, and just in the last few years when I moved back to California, he arranged 2 birthday parties, 2 years in a row for Brian's dad, my dad, and you know, in that time I got to know him as a person who liked to have everybody feel included. He liked that sense of community, and he's a very sweet person, but at the same time he's a person that a lot of people look to for leadership. And I think it takes a special kind of person to fulfill, you know, the roles of being liked and being a leader, because sometimes you can't be both. And you know, he was a great person, and we're gonna miss him. And I think that the level of his greatness is shown in this group of people that are here to honor his memory. Thank you.
First of all, I'm Shirley Gayhar, and this is my pup, who'll be 15 the 1st of January. Her name is Hody. And I have KT to thank for me coming up, but I loved Eric very deeply, like all of you did, and I learned a lot from him. But I have to tell you a story when I first met him. She's 90% deaf and 70% blind, like me. Well, she's got more work. She had to go pee-pee. Anyway, I had just lost my other shepherd, Missy, that I had for 10.5 years. I've had 5 shepherds, counting Hody. But I lost my Missy when she was just 10.5 from cancer of the lungs. Nothing left of them. She just let me know 2 days before I had to put her down that something was wrong. And I told my 2 girls, this is it, I can't go through putting my beloved dogs down. It's too hard, like you all know. And both of my girls, Lori and Vicky, said, Mom, we can't imagine you without a German Shepherd. And I said, this is the end. 2 months later, I'm looking for a German Shepherd. And I didn't know any around here, and I asked my vet if he knew anybody that sold good German Shepherds. And he said, turned to his wife, and he said, I think there's a fella up on the hill, Johnny Dew, like this. He has a bird name. And then she says, Falcon, yeah, that's the one. So I found him in the phone book, and I called up, and told him I'm looking for a silver sable, or not silver, but a sable shepherd female pup. I wanted a puppy. And I said, do you have any? He says, oh yes, we sure do. So I made an appointment to come see him. I went over to Livermore to pick up a really good friend of mine that loved Missy and wanted to be with me when I found another dog. And I had a truck at that time. It was a rainy morning. I drove up the hill up to his house, and he was out in a big heavy parka with the hood over his head. Big tall guy. I don't know what he was. And he had just sold a pup to some girl that had the dog in her hand. And I got out and as I came out, I put the window down. I said, "Eric," and he said, "Shirley." So he knew I was coming up. So I waited for the transaction to finish with the girl. And then I went up, now it's pouring rain. And I went up to him, this big tall guy, and I didn't know him from Adam. And I said, "Eric, I've come to see the female." He said, "Shirley, I made a mistake. I just have males." And I looked at him, didn't know him from Adam. I didn't know anything about humor. But I looked at this tall, big guy, and I said, "You know, Mr. Faulkner, when you're around dogs a little bit more, I'm sure you'll be able to tell a male from a female." And he just that laugh, as everybody of you know, he had that Eric laugh, and he and I bonded instantly. He became a very personal friend of mine, like with all the rest of you. And after I did bring Hody up to training for about 2 years. Then I went on for Schützen in training. But when I used to come up, I would go up and have coffee with Brian and Eric. So I really got to know him pretty well. And it's interesting because he's mentioned a lot of you people. And today I'm meeting some that I said, "Oh yeah, I know that name. I have never met you, but I will miss him." But we all know that he is much better off, and it's us here that is suffering, not Eric. And the love you still feel. I told my girls I still feel his love here, and it will always be here. And KT, yeah, thank you. And I thank all of you guys. It shows how much love all of you have. Yeah. Thank you.
I just want to say, this is great you all come out. You probably don't, a lot of people don't know me. I've known Eric about 4 years. And I used to breed, or I do breed golden retrievers, but I needed a German Shepherd. So I called Eric, and I saw some puppies, and I picked which one I liked, and came back about a week later to get him. And that was the first time I actually spoke with Eric. He wanted nothing to do with me because I was a show dog breeder. Well, we became so close, and I cherish my friendship with him. And he said he had all these puppies and they needed to get out of the smoke. So I came right up and I loaded up my car. I had puppies in the front seat, the back seat, back. The mamas with me. I think I had 30 puppies in the car. There were a lot of puppies. Forgot to tell you, I had puppies at home too. So we loaded up everything and we brought them to the house. And then I said, "Get all your dogs. This is just too much smoke. Bring them all to the house." We had a motorhome he could stay in. We had places for all the dogs. So we had quite a few German Shepherds at the house for about 4 days. And Eric and I spent so much time together. We really learned a lot about each other. And I'm so glad that I had that much time with him because he is an amazing person. And I'm going to miss him so much. He told me a week before the chemo, I thought we were going to have some more time, but it didn't happen. But knowing Eric, I know he's here right now. He's with all of us. And he's always going to be with all of us. And we just got to remember that. And I think about him and I think about that all the time. And I know he's still here. He's just in a different place. So that's all.
Eric was my family. He was the best person that you could ever ask for. If there ever was a dog whisperer, it's Eric. It actually should be a people whisperer, people, dog, person. But the lady that just spoke last is right. Eric is out in that field right there watching all of us, and And he has all the dogs he's ever had. They're all with him. And I just wanted to say, please, everybody, just continue to do and come here and be with Eric and with Brian and Jack. Thank you very much.
I don't speak English good, but the one that's speaking is thank you for Aaron and Brian. I'm learning a lot for these guys. So the one I think, thank you guys for coming, and I appreciate for you guys giving us the chance, to carry your dogs. Yeah, I love the dogs and carry the stuff. And priority thing here is carry your dogs. So when you guys bring your dog, don't worry for. So it's still always in good hands. That's my priority thinking here. So I teach the new guys that working in here and mature. They're all really important is the dogs for you guys. That's priority stuff because it's second home for your dog. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Probably the least qualified to say anything about Eric. I have met him 3 times in my life. I'm Brian's brother. My name is Glenn, and this is my son Frank. And it was, I was found out that I was adopted, and so Brian's brotherhood came to me as a 60th birthday present. And by the way, our sister Sandy does send her love down from Oregon. But the first time I met Eric, we were at the Beach Chalet in San Francisco. And yeah, and because Frank was having one of his many bouts with illness, Frank couldn't go. But Eric and, of course, Brian were so excited to meet their brand new nephew. Okay, you in there? And it just the excitement was a very positive thing, because normally you say, hey, let's go meet a cripple, and nobody wants to go, but he wanted to go and wanted to get to know Frank. And we've been here, the other 2 times I've met him, we're here at celebrations, celebrating Brian and my stepfather's birthday. And he was always very giving, very open. The man I knew was what we call in Italy a good man. And as I wrote in a letter to Brian after I heard of Eric's passing, that I knew Eric to be a good man, and that Brian should be glad that Eric shared that goodness with him. And I think we should all be glad that Eric shared that goodness with us. One other thing, he had a half-an-hour radio program every week where he'd give dog training and animal care tips. And as a former disc jockey, I can honestly say that anybody who can put up a half an hour a week has my unconditional admiration. So I'm glad to see that my brother has the support at this time of his loss. And I want to add my support, because there just aren't enough good men to go around, and every time we lose one, we're all the less for it. Thank you.
Robertson, and when I heard about this service, I called Brian and said, if you want me to play, I can. And he immediately told me the song that he wanted, that Eric would want played at this service. It's a very simple song, and I'm sure you all agree it has a very powerful message.
and otherwise. So I got to know him that way, and didn't really spend much time down there. And a few years after that, one of our family members died and left our house in just terrible straits. Finally, we let him talk us into taking one of his puppies. And we ended up with this black, curly-haired German Shepherd, the Italian Shepherd, I call him. But, you know, he gave us some of the best times and unfortunately some of the worst times too, but that all goes with it. Once we got the dog and started coming down here every week for training and everything else, I got to know Eric on a whole different level. And a lot of the stuff that he taught me then I still use today in business and whatever other areas. One of the things that I think Eric would really like was to see everybody here with the dog, because that's his legacy, are the dogs out here. And all of you are going to be carrying it on forward. So, thank you.
Eric will speak a little while ago. She is so grateful for what Eric has done for her. And so am I. Neither of us had a long time to get to know Eric, and we had no idea how ill he was, how short the time would be. But I have to say that every time I came up here with Libby for classes, and when we came up to choose her puppy and to get him, that the warmth and the kindness was palpable. Eric was a wonderful human being, as everyone here knows, and we are so grateful for what he's done for us and the difference he made in our lives. And Libby said, I forgot to tell people what a good hugger he was. So I'm saying that for you. Thank you.
I'll finally set my soul free when I go sailing round the room. Life may be just but a dream. Rode my boat on down the stream to wake up on a different shore. Wind up to something I ain't never been before. I could be a drop of summer rain falling down on an Oklahoma plain. I won't leave the world behind me. Look around and you'll find me. So I go sailing round the room, through my window across the silver moon. No flesh and bone to hold me, I'll finally set my soul free